What is up on a Saturday? I'm talking Mike McDaniel. Will he make it to Monday? What is up, Finn fans? Hope you guys are having a fantastic Saturday. It's early. I normally release my videos early on a Saturday. So, college football is going to be some good games today. Some maybe future Dolphin quarterbacks we can watch, Sellers, and that's the only name that pops in my head because I wasn't mentally prepared to look at some of the competition. Let's real quick look at those because we're going to be talking about Mike McDaniel, and we're going to be talking about his future. Trying to see right now. Ohio State, Illinois, Alabama, Missouri. I'm looking for one in particular. Oklahoma, Texas is going to be interesting if you want to watch Arch. I could have sworn his name was Archie. Indiana and Oregon. That is going to be an interesting one, especially if you want Mendoza. You want Mendoza at quarterback. That's going to be an interesting one. And obviously you have the Oregon quarterback who's also going up the ranks. But I'm looking for South Carolina. Who are they playing? Again, LSU, another interesting one. Nussmeier versus Sellers. So again, I'm getting off tangent. It's a Saturday, so I want to say good morning and everything. But there's games today that are very interesting, and to see some of these potential quarterbacks battling each other. But the topic of this video is more about Mike McDaniel. Real quick, though, I do have to shout out today's sponsor. You guys know him. You love him. I love him. Sleeper. Go check him out. Click the link in the description. Get 100% up to $100 if you use the promo code DDW, and you get a free $20 entry. That's only for a limited time. It's not forever. So definitely go take advantage of that. Super fun, super upbeat. I show you how to use it every Friday and Wednesday, sometimes Thursday. So go check him out. Mike McDaniel is facing the Chargers on tomorrow. I was going to say Sunday, but it's tomorrow. And things are interesting, right? Looking at the injury report that came out officially yesterday, you have 2 outs in Elijah Campbell and Terrell Dotson. So it seems like Willie Gay might be getting the nod finally, and we can kind of see what we're going to get out of Willie Gay. Aaron Brewer's questionable, but they asked him, how are you doing? And he said, I'm fine. I should be able to go. He's dealing with a pectoral injury, but again, it's another situation we are dealing with offensive line injuries and pains and yada, yada. But you look at the Chargers, they're going to be without Joe Alt. They're going to be without Trey Pipkins. They're going to be without their other tackle that they lost at the beginning of the year. They're going to be out without Darius Davis. They're going to be without Deshaun Hand. There's a lot of questionables, and Bud Dupree, for who I'm hearing is going to play. Quentin Johnson is dealing with a hamstring. He's questionable. I'll probably going to play. They're getting back Denzel Perryman, so that's going to be interesting. Jamar Slayer, he didn't practice for 2 straight days. He's questionable. There's a possibility they lose 3 offensive linemen, and this is a game where the Dolphins can take advantage defensively about essentially who they want to be, and could you get pass rushers, yada yada. I talked about this all yesterday. Go watch the preview video. What I want to talk about today is Mike McDaniel, and will he be the Miami Dolphins head coach come Monday? Now, if they win tomorrow, yes, he will be the head coach come Monday. There's 2 different reports coming out, right? Jeremy Fowler was on Rich Eisen. What day was this? October 8th. So Wednesday, essentially talking about his hot seat is moderately hot. He doesn't see anything imminent happening, but that could change if the season goes further or whatever, and fans stop showing up to home games. Knock, knock, who's there? And this is why, again, I'm not knocking Jeremy Fowler at all. I'm not going to come on here and say, like, he doesn't know what he's talking about, blah, blah, blah. But I want to say this. He says that it's moderately hot and things could change if the season goes AWire or fans stop showing up at home games. My man. Fans are flying banners over the stadium to fire Chris Grier and Mike McDaniel. I think we're past the point of the fans dictating what happens in the organization. Because again, things have been shown, right? Then also he says Stephen Ross getting his sons more involved, which a lot of people are like, huh? Because it's his daughters who he's going to give the company to. But apparently he's talking about his son-in-law, Daniel Silman, who was seen in a video. But the thing I really wanted to talk about is Tony Pauline. And Tony Pauline came out with an article on the 7th, on Tuesday. And you might be like, why are you taking what Tony Pauline says over Jeremy Fowler? And that's because Tony Pauline was the first to break the news, not necessarily the news, but the sources, rumors, yada, yada, that the Dolphins were interested in moving on from Laramie Tunsil in 2019. And then it happened. So him, on the other hand, I'm kind of like, obviously, I'm not taking anything anyone's saying seriously until something happens, but I am listening more to him than anyone else. And he came out with an article, like I said, and his article said, Insider Notes on Dolphins. Mike McDaniel firing inching closer, ex-Jet head coach eyed as successor, and more. So he says, less than a month ago on September 9th, after just 1 week into the NFL season, I wrote a lengthy article reporting that Michael McDaniel's tenure in Miami could be coming to a close sooner rather than later. Now, after a horrendous Week 5 loss to Carolina, sources tell me that the end is in sight. After their first week disaster when the Dolphins lost to the Colts by a score of 33-8, I reported that league sources were telling me that owner Stephen Ross would pull the trigger on firing head coach Mike McDaniel if the team was not competitive over the next 6 to 7 games. Since that game, the Dolphins have lost 3 of the 4 games, winning just a single contest over lowly New York Jets last Monday. So again, we're getting to that 6 to 7 game period. Tensions are starting to boil over after a loss to the Panthers, a game in which the Dolphins offense combined for just 248 yards. McDaniel admitted during a press conference on Monday that owner Stephen Ross is really frustrated. The head coach went on to say, it's frustrating because there's a lot of talk and we need to major in doing. Essentially, he's saying there's too much talk, not enough doing. I don't think anybody wants to hear me talk about it as much as I don't feel like saying it. But it doesn't change the steadfast reality that you have to be better at things. You'll continue to have the same results. Again, it's Mike McDaniel and his euphemisms. When could Coach McDaniel be sent packing? The same source who told me that McDaniel was on very thin ice after their Week 1 loss to the Colts predicted that Ross will wait 2 to 3 more games before deciding whether to pull the trigger on his coach. Knock, knock, who's there? It's been 2 to 3 more games. If the team somehow makes a miraculous turnaround, McDaniel could save his job. The Dolphins face off against the Los Angeles Chargers, Cleveland Browns, and Atlanta Falcons during the next 3 weeks, then finish the month of October against Baltimore Ravens. Many wonder if general manager Chris Grier will also be cut loose. Sources tell me sources tell me that they don't think it's definite that both the head coach and general manager would be fired at the same time. So again, I want you guys, because there has been some things out there that used this article and have quoted it saying, Greer's not going to be fired, yada, yada. What the source says is sources tell me they do not think it's a definite that both the head coach and general manager will be fired at the same time. Doesn't say that the general manager will not be fired. Kind of like the Jet situation. I think the GM was fired first and then Saleh was second, or it was Saleh first and then the GM. It's rare that the owner just goes, you're both gone. I'm done. You're both gone. So again, it seems like Mike McDaniel's going to go first, and then maybe down the road it'll be Chris Grier. I'll get more into that because there's more into this article. Which direction would Stephen Ross look to move if he unloads Mike McDaniel? Sources say they expect the owner to target a disciplinary type of coach with experience in the league, someone in the Dan Quinn mold. One name that has been speculated as a possibility if Mike McDaniel gets canned is ESPN analyst Rex Ryan. Please, God, no. Ryan desire to prowl the sidelines on Sunday, potentially as a defensive coordinator, but preferably as a head coach, is well known in the league circles. The hot rumors this past offseason was Ryan would return to the head coaching job with the Jets. Ryan would fit the desire of hiring a veteran coach that not necessarily a strict disciplinary, and the Dolphins would get a proven winner, I'll bet, from 15 years ago. Ryan led the Jets to consecutive AFC title appearances in 2009 and 2010 before eventually being let go by the club in 2014. Sources say they have a defensive-minded head coach would allow the Dolphins to bring in a big-name offensive coordinator who can work exclusively with Tua Tagovailoa, the 2020 first-round pick who at times has struggled with injuries and inconsistencies since being drafted over 5 years ago. Let's break it down. So again, there's a lot of sources has to say, and sources here and sources there and source. Here's the thing. If I'm the owner, and again, if I'm the owner, I don't know if we're in the same situation because again, I wouldn't have narrowed my net by making the new head coach work with Greer and work with Boyer and work with Tua and really narrow it down to the only guy that really had an interview. Like McDaniel wasn't interviewing with anyone else. He interviewed with the Dolphins and they signed him. So that's first and foremost. But if I'm the owner, I'm firing Chris Greer first. That's my first move. I'm firing Chris Greer first. I have a list here. I'm going to cover it with my hand because I don't want to ruin a potential video. You could see the amount of names I have on here. And if you got a keen eye and you pause it at the right time, you probably can pick up on some of them. But this whole list of paper is the top part is GMs and the bottom part is head coaches. I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 potential GMs that I would like the Dolphins to bring in. And I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 potential head coaches I would like the Dolphins. So altogether, I got 9 and 9. If I'm the Dolphins again, I'm firing Chris Greer. I don't trust this man to move pieces, to get future cap picks, to future draft picks, or yada, yada, because his job is a big fat question mark. And like, honestly, like when you give your 2 weeks, and again, I guess it depends on the person, but when you give your 2 weeks, so if your job's like, listen, we're letting people go, just, work till the end of the week. And then, Friday will be your last day. You're not going to give your all for those, say it's a Tuesday for the next 3 days. You're not going to give your all. You're going to come to work. You're going to do your job, but you're not going to bust your hump because come Friday, I don't work here anymore. To my mind, it's the same thing with Chris Greer, right? Hey, the trade deadlines come up. Say we do lose to the Chargers and say our pass rush does not get anywhere near Justin Herbert, right? Say we don't get any sacks off of an offensive line that is hot trash. Do you trust Chris Greer to trade Bradley Chubb, to trade Jalen Phillips, to get anything resembling a decent draft pick? Or do you think he's like, whatever, I'm just going to do this and blah, 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 because I'm already going to get fired and who cares? So again, I don't let him even finish whatever he started because he obviously hasn't done anything properly in 6 years. I fire him. I bring in my new GM. Again, I have 9 names. I bring in my new GM. I let him sit there and I let him watch the team. Now, Mike McDaniel is going to be fired. I leave that up to the GM. I bring the GM in, whoever it is. Again, 9 lists of names. I bring him in. I go, look, you're in charge. I trust you. I'm paying you. I brought you in because I like what you did with X team, and I think you can help us turn this ship around. Complete control. If you want to go fire Mike McDaniel right now, go fire Mike McDaniel. If you want to watch him play, coach a little longer, and you think he can get us a top 3 pick because he's not doing a good job, you do what you want to do. You want to trade Tyreek Hill. You want to trade Devon Achane. You want to trade Jalen Waddle. I don't want to trade those 2 guys. I'm just giving you an example. You want to trade anybody, you're the GM now. Go do your job. I'm not going to hover, do your thing, blah, blah, blah. That's what I would do, right? So if, come the Browns game and we lose again and the GM's like, this guy's just trash and I already see that the players don't want to be around him anymore, blah, 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 I'm going to go fire him. That's what I'm doing as the owner. Me, DouglieDoWrong, Doug. What I see happening is I do think Mike McDaniel will get fired. I think if the Dolphins lose to the Chargers, and regardless if it's I predicted we'll lose by 10, 24-14. I think he'll get fired. I think this is around the same time he fired Philman. I think it was like mid-season he fired Sperano. This is around the time Stephen Ross is like, and a lot of what Stephen Ross goes off of is money. The world is revolving around money. That's all anything is, unless you're one of those off the grid people who live like in central of the United States and live in the woods and you live in a hut and you don't have internet or anything, then yeah, money don't mean nothing to you. But the world revolves around money. So if Stephen Ross starts losing money, and if Stephen Ross starts seeing no one's in the stands, which he will, again, we lose the next 2 games and we go 1-6, no one's going to your games. And if people are booing and chanting and all that stuff, he's going to notice it. He's going to notice that my stupid letter I put out at the beginning of the year, it is blowing up in my face. I need to make a move and a firing will happen. So I do think Mike McDaniel, if the Dolphins lose on Sunday, will be fired. I think he'll be the scapegoat. I think you'll see maybe John Embry, because he is the assistant head coach. Me personally, I pick Darrell Bevell, but you'll see an interim head coach. I don't think it's Anthony Weaver anymore. Going into the season, I thought it was Anthony Weaver because he had a top 10 defense last year. His defense is so bad, he might be fired with him. But that's what I personally see. It's just not working. And I'll talk more about this. I'll talk about his tenure with the Dolphins. I'll talk about things he did well, things he didn't do well, all that stuff, if and when he gets fired. But right now, this is more talking about what these articles say from Tony, right? Because again, sent packing, yada, yada. Here's the other thing I want to talk about. The Rex Ryan situation. No. Rex Ryan, and some people, I had a conversation with someone on Twitter who wanted to bring in Bill Belichick as a GM. And I was like, no. The NFL isn't the same it was, 15 years ago. That's around the time that Rex Ryan was good. That's around the time Bill Belichick was good. That's around the time that these coaches were good. It's not the same NFL anymore. You have to evolve. And to bring in guys like that, it just you're not evolving. You're devolving, and you're going to go back to old ways. Because Rex Ryan hasn't coached in forever. Rex Ryan, doesn't know what the ins and outs are. Rex Ryan doesn't know how to pick a quarterback. He picks Mark Sanchez. I'm not going to talk about Mark Sanchez, but he picked Mark Sanchez. Bill Belichick can't draft if his life depended on it. So, I have names. I'm not going to go into them because that's for a whole other video. That's for like the end of the year video, because I'm not even going to give you head coaching candidates that I want when Mike McDaniel does get fired, if it happens before the season ends, because there's a whole plethora of names. But I want somebody who has experience, and I want somebody who, I don't want John Gruden, and I don't think John Gruden's going to happen because of the Rise Foundation that Stephen Ross put together, which is about minorities and all that stuff. And then you have John Gruden, who, it was unlawful that his emails got released, but the emails were not fake emails. So he still said what he said in the emails. John Gruden's not coming to Miami, even though as much as he is begging to come to Miami, it ain't going to happen. But John Gruden typed, because I always bring up the Hard Knocks Buccaneers episode where Chris Sims couldn't get the play out and Gruden was hard on him. And then you look, it cuts and Chris Sims is kind of standing there. Gruden walks over to him. And he goes, "Did I scare you?" That's the type of coach you want. You want the type of coach that's going to be hard on you. That's going to be a disciplinary. That's going to, if you're not doing the thing right, if you're making too many mistakes, you get benched. If you're not performing well, we have competitions and legit competitions at the quarterback position everywhere. If you're late, you get cut. If you do this wrong, people have fun. People like the coach, but no, I can't cross the line and I can't be lazy because then I'm gone. That's not what we had with Mike McDaniel. That's what I want for the new coach. And the thought that, okay, they're going to go after a defensive minded coach so they can focus on bringing in a offensive coordinator that can work with Tua, seems like they are leaning towards keeping Tua for 2026 and not, unless again the new GM can find a trade partner and then you move on from him. I'm still taking quarterback in the first round, especially if a good one falls to us. Jordan, how many quarterbacks can I name that, sat and did really good? Jordan Love, Aaron Rodgers. But there are also, I'm gonna spoil it. I'll give you a name. Darren Rizzi. Mike McDaniel gets fired. Why not bring Darren Rizzi in as the head coach? You didn't give him the opportunity when you should have. He's been with Sean Payton. Look at the last coach that was with Sean Payton, Dan Campbell, who's now doing really well. Darren Rizzi, special teams coordinator. He was the assistant. He was the interim head coach with the Saints. Bring him in. Then you have that guy who the players will like and disciplinary and all that stuff, but then you don't have to worry about him being too defensive minded or too offensive minded. He'll be a head coach, just like John Harbaugh, who, knock, knock, who's there, was a special teams coordinator before he was the head coach of the Ravens. Darren Rizzi's a name on my list. I got a lot, but that's one that I'm very intrigued by bringing him in. But yeah, I honestly get to the title and all that stuff. This might be Mike McDaniel's last game. Dolphins lose on Sunday. I think he gets fired. How sure am I of that? I'm about 60% sure, because Stephen Ross doesn't do what we want him to, nor does he do the right thing. Because if he did, neither one of these guys would be here right now. And maybe this team would be in a different situation with a different GM who would move money right and draft the right players in the right situations, and a head coach who would know how to coach people and have a disciplined team that isn't freelancing constantly and putting themselves in a bad situation. But that's what I got for you guys. I will see you tomorrow at 1 live. We'll see how this game goes. Obviously, I'm going to root for a win. I never root for a loss. But we'll see. We're either 1-5 or 2-4. And then you got 2 games against the Browns and the Falcons that are winnable if your defense can get their heads out of their butts. Going to be very, very interesting. Comment below. Let me know what you guys think. And I will see you tomorrow. But like usual, stay classy and fins up.